So at 7 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West, held in Council Chambers at 216 Main Street West, Swan River, Manitoba, this 9th day of July 2024 at 7 p.m. Present this evening, myself, Reeve, Gade, Councillors Brian Burick, Brad Kushniryk, RJ McGregor, Byron Zbirun, and Terry Neely. Our Assistant CAO, Kristi Ronnquist, is here with us this evening. Our videographer, Jeremy Bergen, is here, and we have one person joining us via telephone in the gallery. We'll pick up the meeting at notice of absence tonight. Be it resolved that notice of absence submitted by Council Member C. Blosha regarding the regular meeting of Council held this 9th day of July 2024 shall be accepted as received. Is there a mover? Councillor Neely and Councillor Kushniryk to second the resolution. Any discussion? Call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. Number 2, adopted the agenda. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of Council held this 9th day of July 2024 shall be adopted as presented. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick, Councillor Zbirun. Any additions or changes that anyone wishes to suggest? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That too is carried. Heading to number 3 tonight. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting held June 25th, 2024 be adopted as presented. Is there a mover? I see Councillor Kushniryk and Councillor Neely. Copy of the minutes are attached to the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to review them? Does anyone need more time? Were there any errors or omissions noted in the minutes? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question on the resolution. Those in favor? That is carried. We have no general business tonight, so we'll head to financial items. Be it resolved, that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby approves the following payments. General Cheques number 19828 to 19854 in the amount of $117,571.92. Pre-authorized payment number 2024-008 in the amount of $1,056.25. For a grand total of $118,628.17. Is there someone that wishes to move the resolution? Councillor Neely, and I see Councillor Zbirun as well. I have the checks here tonight. A copy of the list of them is attached to the agenda. Who has questions about checks? I can advise that we did discuss the diesel fuel for Durban last time, and they are going to be working on a log of where it's going for us, but we don't have that back yet tonight. I had a question phoned in to me from Councillor Blosha earlier because she was fearful she wouldn't be here to ask about the checks, and it's kind of tradition for her to ask. So she was wondering about check 19830, Benito Firemen's Association. So that's donations that were funneled through for the pancake breakfast. So they did very well that day.
Very good pancake breakfast.
It was a really good pancake breakfast. I saw lots of the staff was there too. It was great to see everybody come out and support the firefighters. Other checks of note, you'll see that TL Backhoe Services, that's a progress payment for most of the graveling up to June 15th. So I think there might be a couple little bits to come, but that's most of what he did. So that check is going to him tonight. You'll see there isn't yet checks to our other contractor. Those are hoping to be processed for next meeting. We received more invoices, but there are also more corrections, so we're still working through those at the moment.
So the ones that are coming are about this big too, and then you'll be done, or?
So Mr. Barkman's, that's almost done already.
Okay.
He was finished up 3rd week of June. Did he finish, I think?
I think so.
Yeah, so there's about a week to come. So that would be 25,000-30,000 from him. But then on the cook's side, we've got invoices for May and all of June that still haven't been reconciled to, so there's a substantial amount there. There's 150 or more sitting. Councillor Neely?
Was this, I can't remember now, was this the total for Jay? Or was there
No,
was
he had
more
some
before
before.
that, right?
He
Yeah,
had
he had
30 or so before.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
And there's gonna be a little more coming.
Yeah.
He has taken, quickly getting off topic, but he is off a couple weeks doing a different project. But he did work Saturday and Monday hauling for us, doing some additional work in some places that needed some. Some of that was in his traditional area, and some of that was north of the line. We're trying to get caught up there.
So getting onto that too, are we going, after all the smoke clears, are we gonna have a little bit of gravel left over? Say we wanted to like a tandem here or a tandem there type thing, or
I
what's
believe
that?
we won't have this much, but we'll have this much.
Okay,
So there will be some left,
Okay.
I think. We're hoping, like, I'm hoping with Lois to have the budget numbers done so we see what we've spent here in a couple days.
Okay.
So we know exactly where we're at budget-wise. I believe there's some space. Don't
Yeah.
quote me on that yet, but I think there's gonna be space for like another 50 or 100 miles, maybe.
That's great, yeah, because I need 5 miles in the worst way.
And there's a lot of places.
Well,
that
you need
pieces.
some-
we can talk about this another time, right, or
Yeah,
later
and
on.
And we do have our foreman is coming tonight to
Okay.
have this discussion with us, so.
Good, good.
Yeah, we'll get into it with him a little more. Manitoba Hydro bills are there. There was a note about some of the MTS payments. They're showing twice on some of these because we've switched to pre-authorized payments, so we no longer pay interest to them. So we're having trouble getting the checks there in time. But there was one check written that was also taken out pre-authorized, so that check is being canceled after the fact, so it won't be paid twice. There's some antennas for the graders to try and make the radios work a little better. There was a change, and you might hear about it. Our finance officer's coming in tonight as well to speak to us. But $3.30 pay per gift, we have asked them to begin enforcing purchase orders. Because there were some charges appearing on the account that we weren't entirely sure why they were there. So we're going to go to purchase orders of that vendor. Otherwise, that covers off, I think, most of the checks. Does anybody else have questions about anything?
Pretty straightforward.
Hearing nothing more, we'll call a question on the resolution. Those in favor? That's carried. We'll move to payroll checks tonight. We don't have payroll checks to show you. We have fire payroll 521. So a copy of that is attached, and it looks like we need to resolution yet. Okay, so have a resolution be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West approves the payments to Benito firefighters for the 6 months ended June 2024 for a total of $4,802.87. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick and Councillor Kushniryk. Copy of the payroll documents attached there, so it shows you the fire calls versus the training for what they did there. Fire calls, we spent $1,200 on wages. Training, we're about $2,700. There's a little bit of other stuff in there, miscellaneous, but that's the majority of it. Does anyone have any questions on the firefighter statement we're looking at? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question on the resolution. Those in favor? That is carried. Indemnities tonight aren't quite finished, so what we have attached to the agenda is the actual indemnities for council, so you can see them. And they're there in the public view so folks can see them too. But the checks haven't actually been processed yet because they don't come out till the 15th. So we'll be approving the checks at the next meeting with the check numbers and the total amounts. But the indemnities are here already. Just they were ready, so I thought we'd include them tonight. Let's head to discussion items. 6.1, Streambank Stabilization Project. This is one that's near and dear to Councillor Burick's heart. And I would wonder if he could give us a little history on this so we're all up to speed on what we're talking about here.
Is that the one at the border? Okay.
Yes.
Barton was supposed to work at it after he finished the graveling. That's probably the project he said. Did he tell you that he's working on another project or something? But other than that, I don't know if it's done yet. I mean,
It's not, because the paperwork's here to sign tonight.
okay, but I mean, the watershed, I talked to Eddie at the watershed and it was a go. Because I think, was it last meeting, I brought it up and you said there was a hold on it or something?
Yeah.
And there was some misunderstanding there. I think he said the hold was last winter yet. But I mean, it's a go. So Eddie's was gonna get a hold of Barkman and they're gonna get the project going. But if there's something here to sign tonight, then we'll have to sign it. But we have budgeted for the whole project. And Saskatchewan's supposed to give us half, but we budget for the whole amount.
So the project specifically is on Southwest 193729, which is quite far towards Livingston. It's border road with them. And this creek is eroding the roadway out. So if we don't do anything, we will eventually lose the road and then have a bigger problem. So this particular project is to stabilize the bank
Yeah.
of the creek at that point.
We had pictures of it last fall.
Yeah.
Last fall it was presented to council.
So attached here for council to see is the estimate of $25,000 to do the work. Watershed district covering 40%, $10,000. We're to cover the $15,000 plus the administration fee. So it could result in us paying obviously $16,875, but some of that could be offset with our own supplies if we have any, and I don't think we are for this project. I think Barkman is just going to do it. But then we're going to work with Livingston on sharing the actual cash payment, so we'll get some back from them as the theory. So essentially, this is a almost $17,000 project.
Does Mr. Barkman have a guideline that he follows to fix this, or?
Well, watershed did the
Watershed.
survey on it, and they got the estimate. They got the
Okay,
estimate
yeah,
of
but
how
I
many
mean,
yards of stone, how much
Oh,
fill and
okay.
all that. They
Eddie
got
will be
everything.
doing the supervising.
Yeah, they took the measurements of it all, and so, I mean, they might not be right on, but it's gonna be close.
Mhm.
They have to follow the specs.
Okay.
Eddie will be overseeing it.
Yeah. And they're, like I say, they're gonna follow the specs
Yeah.
that were on that.
That's what I was wondering, if he had some kind of specs or
Yeah.
something, or what?
Yeah.
That he had to do, put so much stone, or
Yeah.
so much this, and so much. Okay.
Put a resolution be resolved that the bank stabilization project to prevent the loss of the roadway at Southwest 193729 be approved. Is there someone to move the resolution? Councillor Burick. Is there anyone wishing to second? Councillor Neely. Any further discussion? Hearing nothing, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. 6.2 Leachate Pond for Benito Landfill. A bunch of emails and pictures are attached here for you. So it starts off with a diagram of the site of where the Leachate Pond is going to live. So it's to the north of the existing cell. The idea here is to have room for a second cell when it's required without moving the leachate pond. We're required to have a leachate pond because when they dug the first cell, they hit a small vein of gravelly sand that is spewing water into the actual cell. And so the water that's in the cell, which was originally thought to be just runoff, is actually coming on the cell quite nicely.
You know, it's funny, anybody that lives around that area has to haul water because they can't find it, and we're lucky enough just to find it there.
We can sell it.
Yeah.
So what had been tried in the past was running a pump and pumping that up onto the garbage to see if enough of it would evaporate. It won't. Environment's pretty gung-ho on us having this leachate pond or us not having a landfill anymore.
Are we gonna do a gravity flow to this thing, or do
We
we
have
have
to
to
pump it.
pump it every time?
We've got to pump it. The original pond, the original cell was not done anything for piping in it. So essentially you have to put a basket or something in where the water is and pump it out. They are suggesting that when we build the next cell, we can spend a substantially larger amount of money and put drain tile all around the cell and then have a manhole to pump out of. But the hope would be we don't hit the same vein with the next cell. We don't have
Well,
such
it's gotta
problem.
keep the water separate from the garbage.
It's not gonna
Not
be
the
easy.
easiest thing to do. I guess we had to find enough mesh, but
Especially not, we're not really getting water from the ground, but we're getting, now for some reason,
oh
you
yeah,
know,
it's
5
coming
inches.
from up and from down.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, it's not an everyday thing. I think it's something we're gonna do every couple months.
Oh.
And when the one water builds up, last year the water almost disappeared, it was so dry.
Yeah.
This year it's so wet, we're not having the
Yeah.
disappear problem. But, you know, when there's water there, we'll have to pump it, and we're kinda hoping that when that cell's done and we cap it, that the water stops.
That pond's a fair size area, they want cleared off there.
And what they're looking for is us to clear the trees there so they can do the survey work. So,
How big is this pond they wanna make? It looks like it's gonna be bigger than the,
I know,
Wasn't, the trees all supposed to be gone up that full quarter, wasn't LP supposed to come in there and,
well, we were having that discussion in the office, that this is crown land, and so the trees need to go to LP, and they're the ideal ones to get them off of there. So we have to have that discussion with forestry, because we can't go cut the trees without
No.
permission anyway.
Yeah,
And I'm sure they'll want them to go to LP, and that's just as well if they come in and take them. And then we don't have to figure out what to do with them after. That's our next step here. We're kind of under some time pressure because we were supposed to have this done a while ago. So we have to keep showing we're moving forward, right? As long as we're taking the next step,
Yeah.
we're not gonna get fined, it's if we stop. So staff is going to talk to forestry and get the permitting in place and see if LP is willing to take the trees and get our ducks in a row and get the trees out of there as soon as we can so we can survey.
Is this consulting firm gonna mark this area off?
This is the same firm that did the cell that's there now. So
Pardon me?
this is the same firm that was already doing work there. They did
Yeah.
that cell one, so they're marked off, and the idea is to do as much of this as we can as ourselves.
But I
You
mean,
know,
what
diagrams
the
and
area
things.
they want cleared, they got it in bold black here, right? So are they gonna ribbon that off so you know where to cut, or we just go
Probably
in?
not.
We just go in and clear off a big just section out of there, right?
That would be the easiest, because we're gonna build another cell there someday. So why not
Yeah.
take the trees and be done with it?
Just leave a little border on the north side,
You know, catch the extras.
keep the snow out of there.
Yeah, that's what it is. So that's mostly tonight just for information, but if anyone has questions about it, staff just can keep working away on it. We had previously approved, I recall, the engineering firm doing their thing, so it's just keeping up to date.
They got the wrong number on the highway, 23 instead of 83.
Really? That's funny.
I think it's, looks like 23.
Yeah, it sure looks like 23.
Doesn't matter, I know where it is.
Anything else on that? Let's go to 6.3 tax sale. So attached to the agenda tonight is a list of the properties that are in tax sale at this time. This is a publicly available list. I know people have been looking for it. We'll be posting it in the office here. Tax sale is at 2 p.m. on the 17th day of October this year, right here at this table. So right now there's still quite a few properties in. Typically we see those redeemed before such time as the sale happens. Occasionally some aren't, so we'll see what happens as it gets a little closer. There's also a letter here from our tax sale management firm. So they're reminding us that we need to do something about these properties for either placing a reserve bid or authorizing the Reeve to bid on behalf of council on them. We can place a reserve bid if all we want is the taxes owing. If we want to bid against somebody to try to have the property for ourselves, for some reason, we would have to do the authorization part. And so the only curiosity I had, and we'll have to go in camera, is the one property, given what the cleanup cost would be to us if someone obtains that property and lets it fall into disrepair, we maybe should give some thought to whether or not we want to ensure we have a role in deciding who owns that property next. So we'll talk about that in camera, because it's obviously a negotiation in the early beginnings. And we don't have to make a decision tonight on this, so we'll probably have that discussion in camera, and we'll bring back a resolution next time around for whatever we decide tonight. Any further questions on the tax sale before we move on? Hearing none, we'll go to 6.4. So this is just early discussion again. So attached, there's some quotations here for a telecommunication tower, also for some phones. So this is the conversation that's going on in Benito. We're currently paying for phone service at the shop, the water plant, the office, the fire hall, and the rink is paying for the rink at the moment, but I think they're sort of a separate deal. We don't have internet at any of the locations except the fire hall right now. So we need to eventually get internet to the shop for some of the stuff they do with equipment. We need it at the water plant to remotely monitor the water plant. We need it to the lift station so we can monitor that lift station, so we know if something happens, so we don't rely on the light flashing and someone calling and say, hey, you know there's a light flashing out here. And in the office, and between all of our sites, we're currently paying about $900 a month for phone lines to MTS, plus the internet fees. So the conversation about the tower is building something at the rink in Benito. We talked to the rink board about it a while back. They have fiber optic internet there. So building the tower there and using that internet to go to all of our sites in Benito. We'd take the internet out of the fire hall, we'd end up at the fire hall wireless. We'd end up at all the sites wireless. But we'd also replace those phone lines with digital lines coming over that wireless. So we were saving the 60, 80 bucks a month at each site. So the tower quotes, depending on the one here, there's a refurb, there's new ones, they're running $20,000. The quotes are a little funny. Like, I've built a lot of towers and I usually do the cement base myself and it takes about an hour. And we have a hoe to dig the hole. So, you know, the whole day one there for $2,500 really isn't needed. We could just, Public Works and I could put that base in about an hour. The erection day is important. I've never seen it take 10 hours to put up a tower. The last time we did a 96-foot tower, it was 3 hours. So it's a little heavy there too. And then day 3, the install of the actual antennas on it. Even if you just look at the mileage to drive back to Dauphin and come again the next day, they could stay in a hotel room here for a lot less than the mileage. But also, it should be about 2 or 3 hours work. Typically, it's a one-day process to put the tower up and put all the antennas on and go home at the end of the day finished. So I'd suggest these quotes are a little heavy. This would be the most it could possibly cost. I think we'd want to shop this around to some other places that might have a little better idea of what they're doing, but at least it gives us top-end idea. The telephone that's attached here, the GXP 2160 is an example. That's what the chamber is using now. So what we would do with the phones, we're discussing replacing these office phones, but also all the phones. So everybody would have a phone that uses the internet to work instead. So we start taking out those phone lines at every place. We keep the numbers, the phone numbers ring on these phones. We pay a lot less for it. So overall, we'd be saving almost $1,000 a month, which would then, of course, pay off what we've spent on doing this. The other thing I like about the phones is these are fully digital, so they can follow us around. So we can have them actually forward the calls to our cell phone. So it says, you know, if you want to talk to Councillor Zbirun, press 3. And it just sends it to Councillor Zbirun and says, hey, well, here's his number, hang up, call again. And to me, one of the pet peeves I have is when we're having flooding, storms, trouble like that, people that call our office don't get an answer after hours. These phones would be able to forward it to someone's cell phone. So whether that's the Reeve or the lead hand or whoever's taking calls that night, if you called the office for help, somebody would answer 24 hours a day, which I think would be something we should really be trying to offer to people, because, you know, certainly I've had people call me at home at 9:30 at night with the trouble. And it would be nice if they had that central number, they just call instead of starting to look for a counselor and hoping to find one. So it's early days yet, but I want to get some feel from council what you think of it. If it should be something we pursue a little more, we'd come back with an actual proposal and actual costing to it all.
So this is just for us here. Can we buddy up with MTS or something so that we would maybe get better cell service in Benito at the same time?
I wish.
There's no...
Not easily. MTS is looking for about $1 million to do cell phone service in Benito.
Okay.
Not the answer you wanted to hear.
No, well,
know.
I mean, it was a shot, eh?
At the rink, like the tower would get the Wi-Fi into the campground and the playground, which is something we've been talking about. We've also been talking about there putting some sort of emergency phone outside. You know, so if something bad happens at skate park, there's a way to call for help. If you're a couple kids there and you don't have a phone or your phone doesn't work, and someone's really badly hurt, there's something there that you can call somebody on. So we could, that phone doesn't necessarily need all the rest of this done to make it work, but we'd certainly, I think, do it at the same time. So give it a little better experience there, but primarily this would just be for Swan Valley West Communications.
Okay.
We could also, like, we have that repeater that's supposed to be in Benito for the radio system we use. It's not there right now, it's disconnected. It could go on the tower as well, would improve our coverage into that end of the valley. So what's supposed to happen with the radios, but has never been perfected yet, is when they're using a handheld radio in Benito, they should be able to talk to any other operator. You know, a grader anywhere in the municipality should be able to talk to a handheld radio in Benito, so we don't have work alone situations. You know, so somebody out there has a radio that they can call for help on, no matter where they are. What's everybody's thoughts? Is it worth us putting a little time into and bringing a full proposal back?
Yeah.
Something agreeable?
You say the chamber has this?
The chamber uses this type of phone. We're doing it now, the chamber is now, like, there's the old chamber office on the corner by the Super 8, but the phones follow around. So I'm the chamber president at the moment and the phone follows me. So during the day, it actually rings in my office and somebody answers it there. So then you can just reassign the numbers. You just click a button and now that phone rings instead. So it works really well for that stuff. So even though there's somebody not at the chamber office, it can be answered from anywhere. Which is quite good. And just, you know, in the middle of summer, it's probably not a big deal here, but in the spring breakup, when there's roads flooding and stuff, we get so many calls after hours. So you come in the next day and there's all these voicemails. It's like, we should have known that last night instead of the next morning. And it always comes on a Friday night, and then Monday morning you're finding out, oh, we should have known. We should have been doing something. So it would be good for some of that stuff. If there's nothing else on that, we're going to go to 6.5, speed limit bylaw. So attached to the agenda tonight is the guide to developing a speed limit bylaw. So this is back from 2019, and this is back, the province downloaded the responsibility for speed limits to municipalities. So far as yet, Swan Valley West has not created a speed limit bylaw, so we don't actually have any speed limits in our municipality. You've heard me rant about that before. So Kristi's not got a lot of time, but we're getting our mind around a lot of things in the office and starting to have some free time to start working on the legislative agenda we should be doing here. So this is one of the things that's on the radar, is implementing a speed limit bylaw. So we do actually have speed limits on the streets of Benito, Durban, Kenville, the appropriate places. So a lot of this is information, you can read through it later on if you like. What's important to note is at the end of the bylaw, there will be a page that lists out where all the speed limits are. And if they aren't on that page, they don't exist. So the homework for council tonight is to spend a couple weeks thinking about any place that, you know, it's pretty simple. We know Benito, we know Durban, we know Kenville, but are there other places that we should be implementing speed limits? Because when we're doing this, we should be putting them on the list. And then we'll put the signs up the correct way so it's done and legal and can be enforced, and people can actually get tickets if they speed. So it's something to think about. And I don't think there'll be a lot.
Enforce it, that's the only thing.
Well, if you think of Benito right now, we had an issue come up with the school zone. So we have a complaint pending about someone driving through the school zone at 50 or more. And so someone's really wanting the school zone to be 30. But we don't have a school zone in Benito right now. We don't even have a 50-kilometer-hour speed limit at the school. We might have a sign that says it, but if you get a ticket for driving too fast by the school and go to court, they throw it out because there's no actual speed limit there. So for some of those situations, we should have the actual work done. Because if a police officer is in Benito dealing with a problem, they need the tools to be able to deal with it. And they're not always going to be there. I totally get it. You know, but if there's someone that's messing around at the school zone every day, causing trouble, and they go there to write a ticket and find out they can't, we're the ones that are going to look silly. And we need to get our ducks in a row so those are legally existing zones and a ticket could be written for it. And yeah, there's a low chance. I think we're all pretty aware there's not that great a chance of getting a speeding ticket, but...
Before I forget, it's the same mindset here, but that weight limit sign on the airport road, it isn't there. It's been gone since, I don't know, a couple of years now when they started construction on that new building there. I haven't seen it since then. I think maybe it might have got pulled up, get it out of the way or something happened there.
Can you note it on your list and let's chase it down? Or maybe we'll just buy a new one for there.
There used to be a sign there that said maximum 40,000 pounds.
Okay.
Not that it stopped a lot of people, but it was still there.
Well, and it too, we'll have to follow it up with a bylaw too, because if we make it official, then Kirk could actually write a ticket out there, which would be one or two of those, and we wouldn't have that problem anymore.
Yep.
So please think about the places that, you know, in the office, we know the simple, straightforward ones, but, you know, if there's someplace else you know of that should have something, let us know so we can get this
Okay,
done and not redo it right away.
Take 218, for example. 218 has a speed limit of 70 kilometers on the west side of the highway. Is that, should be included in this, or it's registered
If
already?
it's anything
Likely
other
not
than
It's
legal,
registered already, isn't it?
no, it's not.
No?
There are
Likely
no
not
speed
legal,
limits
but-
registered.
Okay.
So anything like that, that's like those sorts of things need to be put in here.
Because I had to go to Dauphin to a public hearing in Dauphin to approve that speed limit zone.
So once upon a time, that's how it worked. The province held the authority.
Okay.
So to change the speed on any of our roads, we had to ask the province for permission. So they saw this as less red tape for us. They made it so it's entirely our responsibility. But when they did that, all the existing ones were deleted. And there was a transition period of 1 year when they still were in effect and we could make our own law,
Okay.
but it didn't happen. So they all disappeared and no new one was put into place. So all those speed limits don't exist right now. But we should, like, if there's a reason for it, we agree, we should put it in here and make it be. And we'll make sure the signs are proper and it'll be enforceable.
Okay, another question too, on 216, Terry's Greenhouse, there's a speed limit there of 70 kilometers. There's no business there anymore, so should that speed limit stay there or not?
That's a great thing for us to discuss.
Okay.
Well, the railroad tracks are, so maybe.
No, it's not on the railroad tracks, it's west of the tracks.
No, I know, but, well,
But yeah, we can discuss that later.
Yeah, but do think about, because it's things like that that we won't catch in the office. We'll need input from everybody. We're moving on to 7, correspondence. So we've actually got a list of stuff here for you tonight. We'll start off with the Airport Commission. So their financial statements for the year ended 2023 are attached. These are just for information. Councillor Neely and Councillor Burick, I think, are both on Airport Commission.
Yeah, I'm on
Byron
that committee,
wasn't
I
there.
didn't make it.
but, yeah, no, it looks good. I'll give a little report later.
Okay. So that's also available publicly on the agenda. So if anyone out there in the world is looking for these, they're publicly available and you can pick them up. Next up, we have the Planning District financials. And I should be able to report on this, but I missed that meeting, so.
Well, they give me 1 hour notice. They give you 1 hour notice? They said you could make it.
I think I had 3 hours.
3,
I almost made it, but I just didn't quite. Same thing, it's in good shape there, but they're attached. If you like numbers and want to understand how everything works, they're certainly there. Number 3 is a letter from Prairie Mountain Health. It's disturbing. It's dated June 25th. Dear community stakeholder, they're giving us notice that they are ending the recruitment incentives for physicians to Prairie Mountain Health. So as of the end of June 2024, Prairie Mountain Health will no longer pay incentives to physicians to locate to Swan River Valley. This isn't necessarily a surprise. The new government has been quite opposed to the idea of Prairie Mountain Health paying recruitment to doctors on the idea that it's just robbing a doctor from some other area. So there was some question about how long it would be around. It began in May of 2023 and it has now ended. So that means that their only incentives are paid by the local medical recruitment and retention committee. The Prairie Mountain Health incentive was a little more lucrative than the local one, but you've heard it before, but I don't believe we can buy our way out of the problem. I don't love the idea of just giving doctors money. I love giving them a reason to be here instead, because that makes them stay forever instead of just for a couple of years. But for some people, the money is important, and this is unfortunately one less thing now that will be available to attract doctors to the area.
have you heard we're losing one?
Which one?
Well, maybe with the camera, or can I mention it?
Up to you, if you want the camera again.
Yeah, maybe in camera.
Okay. Next up, number 4. This one's not publicly available on the agenda, so we won't discuss who sent it because it has their personal information in it. But it's a letter to Swan Valley West. Hope the letter finds you well. Expressing their interest in the Kenville Community Skating Rink. They've come to their attention that it could be sold or go up for tax sale should it arise. They would like to express their interest in purchasing the property. So it's a little premature at this time. We don't know what would happen with that exactly, but we'll keep the letter on file so we know that somebody's interested in it. If we were to be in the mood to sell it, we would be tendering it, obviously. But last I heard, we are taking over that facility, if we haven't already. Have you heard anything more
I
lately?
haven't heard anything lately, no.
The hydro bill's no longer going to be paid there and such, so it's pretty clear that the committee has finished with it. We have the keys for the building. The locks had to be changed to get the insurance adjuster in, and and after the locks were changed, the committee didn't want keys. So I would say it's probably ours now, but we're gonna firm that up. We've been talking to the committee about just to make sure we don't step on anyone's toes by saying, okay, it's ours now, in case somebody has some plan, but I think the writing's on the wall that the rink is going to be for us to look after. There's been some early discussion just in passing between different ones of us about whether it would be a storage location for us to keep equipment or not, if we could find use for it that way, or if we'd be selling it off. But you know, it certainly would be a cold storage building. Could be used for some stuff.
We used
So,
it years ago. Remember, Brian? We used to store some stuff.
so there'd be some opportunities, you know, especially you know, the cold storage in Swan is smaller now, right? So some of the stuff can go to Ken. We'll figure that out. But next up, the GIS signed agreement. So this is an actual official copy of the signed agreement for GIS. We have this on the agenda tonight, so council has a copy, but also so that members of the public can download a copy. This is the actual agreement that exists. So rather than having to fill out Freedom of Information Act requests or anything like that, we've just attached a copy of the agenda. So it's the same agreement, covers all 4 municipalities. We're all signatories to it. So certainly if anyone in any municipality wants to know what was agreed to, a copy is available from our website. From Ferris Law, we have a letter regarding our retainer. So a statement of account for the retainer, and we have sent the check. That's there so you can see it. And last up, we have a community barbecue. So this is Dan Mazur, Member of Parliament. He is hosting a community barbecue on July 26th. It's a Tuesday from noon to 1. He'll be doing that at the Chamber of Commerce parking lot, 1500 Main Street, right beside the Big Swan. So it's easy to find. If you want to see Dan, come out and talk to him. If the polling is correct, Dan will soon be on government side come a year from now, so it's a good time to go bend his ear about things that we might need in the Swan Valley. Remind him that once he gets some decision-making power, it'd be nice to have him remember where we live. 7.1, there's a tax sale letter here. It was sent to council, and I'm not entirely sure why we got it, so it's not available to the public because it has some personal information in it. But I think maybe they meant it as an example of what letters have been sent out on our behalf. So we just threw it on there so you guys could take a look at it and see it. Essentially, it's just to a property owner saying that, you know, this property is a tax sale. Here's what you need to do to avoid having the property sold off on you. Of note, in one of the many pages of tax sale stuff we had tonight, it indicates that if a property goes to tax sale, it cannot then be re-registered to the existing owner. So once it goes to tax sale, it has to be sold to somebody else. So it's kind of important to redeem your property before tax sale, or else problems arise if you show up at tax sale trying to get it back. Which is part of the reason for the reserve bid, so you don't sell it back to the same person for $1 and just forgive the taxes. We move to number 9, committee reports. Let's start with Councillor Zbirun.
We welcomed the new fire truck tonight at 6 o'clock. It arrived. All in shining glory. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. And some of us had something to eat.
Is it in town here?
Yeah. No, it was really nice. It was good. All the firemen came out, and
Benito boys come too?
no Benito boys came, but no, it was really good. Nice.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
Councillor Neely.
Well, we had an airport commission meeting here on the 26th of June. And as you see, the financial statement is there. Everything looks pretty good. Bruce Hardy was there as the auditor for us. And he went over everything, and everything is just tickety-boo, perfect. Nice to see. Another thing that came out, Manitoba government has increased the airport assistance program from $4,800 a year to $9,600 a year. They doubled it for everybody. So that's sort of nice extra, $4,800 bucks. And another thing was, they have this risk improvement report from some firm, I don't even know who it is, but they suggested we put in these fancy alarms and security system and stuff, and it comes to $10,500 and some odd dollars. Derek Poole recommended we didn't go with it, and all the members agreed. He wasn't there, but he had a letter of recommendation not to do it. So we agreed not to go ahead, because there's never ever been an issue out there. It's far enough out of town sort of that people aren't going to go and steal an airplane, basically. Well, I guess they could try, but
Be
you know,
interesting.
there's a limited few that can fly, okay? So rather than spend $10,500, they decided against it. But other than that, it was just their basic stuff, a list of checks to approve and so on. Well, that's about all I have to report there.
Councillor McGregor. Councillor Burick.
I have no committee reports, but I just have I'll discuss that in camera. I've got a few ratepayers call me about roads.
Tell you what a good job you're doing.
What good job we could be doing.
It's the way they spin up
Yeah,
options.
but no, I'll discuss it in camera. Thank you.
Councillor Kushniryk.
No committee to report. Nothing.
Summertime.
Believe it or not, my report is shorter tonight than it would usually be. I did attend the fire truck ceremony a little bit ago. I presented a check to the mayor on behalf of the fire board for the proceeds of the old Thunder West fire truck that was sold to Winnipegosis. It's found a new home there. They're quite happy. So the check was passed along to pay for the Swan Valley West share of the new truck. So the new truck's a little over $800,000. Our share turned out to be $285,000, which was what we got for the truck. So no cash put into that on our part. The town paid the rest. The town announced this evening that through their sound fiscal management, they are. Stop laughing, Councillor Neely. You're going to make me laugh.
I was just having a thought.
They are not taking a debenture on their share of the fire truck. They had enough surplus taxes last year to pay for the fire truck in the whole. So the fire truck is 100% paid for this evening, and there are no funds owing on it.
Taxes added.
I'm sure I was pleasantly surprised to hear the town had such a large surplus last year that they were able to pay for a fire truck out of it. Good for them. I had a meeting yesterday with Mayor Jacobson, his worship, and representatives from business and settlement services about the rural and northern integration pilot project that's up for bidding. The application deadline is Monday. We're receiving substantial pressure from a lot of people to apply for this pilot. What it would do is allow a local group, probably Swan Valley Rise, to offer permanent residency to people from foreign countries to work in Canada and process the applications locally rather than process them to the federal government. So Thompson is applying, the PAW is applying, we may be applying. There's a lot of hoops to jump through for it. What we've been told by government is that the only way to see it approved would be if Thompson and the PAW and Swan to work together on it, the three areas. So far as yet, Thompson and the PAW are refusing to do that. They each want to apply on their own. So the mayor was spending the day applying pressure to his colleagues in the other areas to see if they couldn't come together in a three-way partnership to try and apply and have the program run. What we heard from business owners during the meeting yesterday was that many of the staff members they have here are temporary foreign workers, and they're unable to obtain permanent residency because of the current processing issues with the federal government and the cutting of numbers. And many of them are asking to leave the community and move to other communities that are running this program. Altona and Brandon both have this right now. And if they move to one of those communities, then they can become a permanent resident. Whereas if they stay working in Swan River, at some point they have to go back home, which isn't necessarily why they came here. They came here with the hope of being Canadians.
Well, we've got to get with the program then. Stay competitive.
Yes, we're working as diligently as we can on that, but there's a lot of
Red tape.
headwind. The program suggests it needs 4 full-time staff to administer it, and you have to prove where the funds come from for that. So there's some work to be done on We don't have 4 full-time staff, we don't have the money to pay for that. You know, for the amount of employees we've been bringing to the area, it would be silly, right? If the 3 areas did it together,
Yeah.
maybe we'd have some hope. But for even just the Swan Valley to try and do that with 4 people running a program like that, what would they do all day?
I have no idea.
We don't have that many
How
people
many
coming
people
here.
would you have coming in? 10,
I know, right?
you know?
So, it's, don't hold your breath, but we'll do everything we can to make it work, because it's important for our business owners. We have Tim Hortons and McDonald's and Dairy Queen, Pizza Place, Quick Stop, all saying the same thing, that they're having trouble staying in business because they can't hire staff. In the last round of immigration, the scoring for this particular market now, we're not able to obtain temporary foreign workers at this time. So we're having trouble getting anybody in to take those jobs. Unfortunately, there's just not enough of us here. I wish there was 1,000 people here looking for work because they all have a job tomorrow. But we just don't have enough people here.
Well, it must be the same with the Paula.
That's why everybody's chasing it. I sat with the guy from the pod that's doing it for 2 days. He was at Portage with me when I was there. So I sat with him at his table and discussed at length and tried every opportunity I had to talk him into working with us on it. I couldn't quite convince the pod to do it. Dauphin is also working on a similar thing and also refusing to be part of anything with Swan River because they say we're just too far away.
Well, the only further away is the telephone or anything else. I mean,
I agree.
with today's world, you can talk somebody halfway across the world is the same as you talk to them in the next room. Pretty lame excuse.
I can advise water bills are being mailed. Meters have been read, bills are on their way out. They're a couple days late, but we've extended the deadline without interest to the end of August to accommodate the fact that the bills are out a couple days late. So many people in Benito will be seeing those bills shortly. So they'll be out fairly soon. They're printed and there's in the mail in the process of getting to the post office. And I believe that is all the highlights of what I have to share this evening.
That's the shortest one yet.
I know. If Meredith had agreed to play that drinking game we talked about, she'd be fine.
We'll be over for the party in a bit, Meredith.
Does anybody else have anything they want to ask, comment, speak to each other about? This is a great time for us to communicate between councillors. Hearing nothing on that, we're heading towards in camera, and I'll give a little preview for folks. We have Public Works foreman coming in tonight in camera, and typically we would not do that in camera, but much of the discussion tonight will revolve around HR issues. And so because of that, we felt it was just not going to be something we could do in open council, because we'd just start discussing something and then we'd have to have another portion of it referred to in camera. We thought it would just be too much of a mess to keep track of, so we're going to bring him in camera tonight. We also have our finance officer attending tonight, also in camera, which also would normally be in open council. And the reason we're doing that in camera tonight is they are reviewing for council a laundry list of financial issues they found with the municipality. Because that's in its infancy, we won't be releasing those publicly tonight, but council will be speaking about them tonight, and in due course we'll be reporting on them in our financial reports in the meeting as we work through those issues and resolve them. I will give, though, that none of it involves stolen money and none of it involves fraud. It involves fairly simple mistakes that have compounded in some cases for a couple of years, in some cases are new. So we're going to be resolving that stuff. But we have her in tonight because I figured rather than me trying to translate that to council, we'd have a numbers person come and explain it all. She'll also give us a brief overview of what else she's been busy with the last 6 months. She just celebrated her 6-month anniversary a couple days ago. And we got her flowers. So she was quite happy about that. We will be talking about cleaning staff for the office. And again, normally that would be an open, except it has a security aspect to it. So because it's the security of the office and documents, it will be in camera tonight. And we'll talk about HR matters and some water billing issues. And whatever else comes up, but I think that'll be all of it.
Nothing about roads.
Right. We're going to take a recess for a few minutes' time. Lead hand is not due here until 8:30, so we'll come back before that and start some discussion on some of the other topics we have, but we're expecting the lead hand at 8:30 and finance a little bit after 9 o'clock. So if things go well, we'll be wrapping up at 9:30 or 10 tonight. But
We'll get back at her at 8 o'clock then.
yeah, we'll see you in a few minutes' time. Meredith, we wish you. Moving to 10.1, be it resolved that pursuant to section 1523 of the Municipal Act, Council shall meet as a committee of the whole, close the meeting and continue discussions in camera regarding personnel matters and negotiations, preliminary discussions, unresolved legal matters, investigation or enforcement of act or bylaw, security of armed documents or property. And there's no ombudsman report tonight. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick, someone to second the resolution. Councillor McGregor, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. Coming out of the in-camera session, we can advise we've given direction to staff on a couple matters. Does anyone have any resolutions they wanted to bring coming out of the in-camera? Hearing nothing there, we'll go to number 11, notice of motion. Does anyone have a notice of motion tonight? Still hearing nothing, we'll move to number 12. Be it resolved, this meeting shall now adjourn at 10:18 p.m. Be it further resolved, the next meeting is Tuesday, July the 23rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. Moved by Councillor Neely.
Second by Blosha.
Seconded by? Oh, Councillor Burick is going to step up on the roll tonight. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you everyone for